Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV this Saturday night. It is the Anzac Day long weekend. We hope that you've all had a safe and reflective Anzac Day, but it's time to get into racing action for the V8SCOPS support series and V8SCOPS tomorrow, starting of course on Saturday night here at Watkins Glen in the 2014 and 2019 Supercars. This is one of the marquee rounds of the season for me. It's a fast track, basically a road course that drives like an oval. The slipstream is going to be everything. The times are going to be close, and the incidents, if they happen, are going to be spectacular. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick, it's me, Reese Gardner. Brandon Stuckers alongside me in the commentary box. Jay Kennedy is pressing the buttons behind the scenes on your respective viewing platforms. Gotta tell you, Brandon, I'm excited. Watkins Glen always turns it up, and we're racing the Cup layout.
Yeah, that's right, Reese. No matter what car you drive, whether it's a supercar, a sports car, an open wheeler, a NASCAR, IndyCar, whatever you want to drive, this track does turn it up. And no matter what layout you use, and you're right, the layout we're using tonight, it does seem more of like an oval feel because it is fast and it is flowing. Slipstream is going to be very important here.
Absolutely is. This layout of Watkins Glen is one of the closest that we have to the original layout of the circuit. From the very start, the S's and the carousel have always been here, and they are exactly the same on this particular layout. The boot section down there at the bottom right, we'll chop that off and we will go straight to the penultimate and final corners, but broken up by the inner loop chicane just before turn 5, the outer loop. And that's going to be one of the prime overtaking opportunities on the lap, to say nothing of turn 1 at the 90. Lots of speed being carried through a lot of these corners, and well, I guess one of the ways you can describe these supercars, Brandon, is they're basically NASCAR machines that handle a bit better, which means they can carry so much speed through these corners.
Oh, they certainly are. I mean, it's the Australian version of NASCAR. These things are built for road courses, and you're right. From turn 1 is a really good opportunity, but all the way from 1 to the entry of particularly the inner loop there, it is going to be all about slipstream and speed. And I think turn 5 could be a possible opportunity to look out for as well for tonight.
Indeed. Well, checking out what is ahead of us here, go through our event format, is going to be 15 minutes of qualifying that the drivers are currently occupying. And we have 2 races tonight of 23 laps each, with 1 compulsory pit stop required. Of course, we are racing both the 2014 and 2019 spec supercars, which have some pace difference between them, so the fuel restrictions are different for the both of them. The 2014 cars have a little more fuel to work with because they burn a bit more fuel. The 2019 spec cars, they have a bit more downforce, they're able to get around the circuit a bit better, but they end up using a bit less fuel as a result. So in order to equalize the both of these categories, they do have that different fuel tank restriction. Of course, grid is from qualifying in race 1, and in race 2, it's the results from race 1 that define the grid. It's going to be a tough one because you are going to have to do that compulsory pit stop in both races and make sure that you're able to get to the end. We're expecting drivers to need about 5 laps of fuel tonight. In the 2019 2019 class championship standings, Dylan Walker is on top, 30 points ahead of Dylan Gray. It's a good day to be named Dylan. Matt Bailey, another 30 points behind there in third. The top five rounded out by Robbie Bradbury and Peter Vanderberg. And further down the field, Dave Arney and Wayne Taylor. They are looking very close in those standings, but we're hearing that Arney has decided to make a switch to the 2014 class for this round, so we'll see how he fares there. In the 2014 class, it is going to it's going to be Matt Haywood who's on top, with Henry King 30 points behind him. There we go. That's better. Daniel Stevens on 300. And Matthew Deere and Rob Chrisdale rounding things out in the top five there. Again, it's still quite close between all of these guys, because this is based off the round one results. We were going to have a support category race the previous round of V8SCOPS, but it got postponed, so we're still waiting on another date for that. But here at Watkins Glen, qualifying is underway, Brandon. We have under 10 minutes to go. Currently, Chad Lewis on top in the 2019s, and in the 2014s, it is Thomas Hins.
Yeah, qualifying is also important, and it's never more important in supercar land than this round here, because like I said earlier, this is all about slipstream, so the higher you qualify, the better your chances are of trying to stay at the front, but you don't want to be leading on the last lap as Henry King cuts the inner loop there on the exit, and we'll see if that probably gives him a 1x, I'm not sure if that would. And you're right, so Chad Lewis now leading the 2019 spec, Matt Bailey in second at the moment. And it looks as though Thomas Hins there with a 107. I think that's the fastest lap in general at the moment. So out of all the classes combined, Thomas Hins takes current, there you go, updated standings there, the 62, currently top of the leaderboard. And Henry King's going to abort that, maybe chuck on a fresh set of tyres.
Yeah, the 2014 car's a little bit easier to drive than the 2019 machines, and combine that with the pool of talent that we have, and the older cars are actually the faster ones here at the moment. An interesting point you make about the curbs at the inner loop. Watkins Glen, being a track that's often used for NASCAR and IndyCar as well in the past, tends to take the American racing rule of if it's paved, it's fair game. So you're going to be seeing the drivers running beyond the curbs in quite a few places. Turn one, you can put all four wheels beyond the yellow line that denotes the curbs from the racetrack, and through the inner loop, you're able to clamber all over those curbs without any penalty from the automated stewarding system, but your car's stability might have something to say about it.
Yeah, got to be very careful on curves, especially in supercars. They may be designed to go over curbs nice and smoothly, but you don't want to do that too often. As we can see now, Thomas Hins is just coming up on the back of another car. So looks like he's backed off. He's just given that lap up a little bit. He's just done a 107.5. That's his fastest lap at the moment. And I think Thomas Hins will try and cruise it back to the pit lane. And as we know in the rules for SCOPS, you cannot just automatically hit the escape button and reset back into the lane. As we look now at the number one, Aaron Gilbert, coming through in the 2014 spec Ford Falcon. As see if he's on a bit of a fly. There's stuck a little bit of a traffic in the drink shifter's car. And as he comes up to the line, let's see if he goes any faster. Nope. Oh, 107.9, so a little slower than what his fastest lap has been so far. So it's all about flow here. We look at Lockhart Brownlee in the 125 Commodore. Beautiful little Anzac livery there on the car as well, celebrating Anzac Day.
Yeah, Lockie actually painted that livery himself, we're hearing. It's a own job there from Lockhart Brownlee, and it's great to see the Anzac tribute liveries out there. I believe the Middle Finger Racing crew have Anzac liveries on the cars as well. We saw plenty of Anzac liveries as well earlier today in the Aussie Car Bathurst 6 Hour. There's the MFR Anzac livery, and Daniel Stevens, the painter for the team, has really pulled out all the stops for that one.
Yeah, it looks like an absolutely mega looking Commodore there. Got to give props to Lockhart Brownlee though. He's really made that Anzac livery stand out on the Commodore, and he's made it look sort of like the do you remember when HRT ran those cars in Supercar Land some years ago around this time as well? And then I think it was Townsville. Those cars just look immaculate. I think he's just recreated that so perfectly on this Commodore. It just looks so good. I think I can get probably livery of the night to this car right here for Lockhart Brownlee. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it's clean, it's simple, it does the job, it looks great. And if you pay attention as the car goes around corners, you'll notice there's the New Zealand flag on one side of the car and the Australian flag on the other side. So well played there to Lockhart Brownlee, who is second of the 2019 spec cars as things stand. The first of them being Chad Lewis here, slowing down on the run up to the last couple of corners here. They've got cars on hot laps coming up behind them, so they obviously want to not impede anybody. Dylan Gray is there with him as well in car number 52. Gray, of course, second place in the championship for the 2019 spec cars. So gently does it on your way to the final corner. Gray and Lewis have been released as Wayne Taylor comes into the pit lane, part of the MFR crew. And pit entry here at Watkins Glen is another thing worth talking about, Brandon. It's mighty difficult to get into the pits there, especially when you're in a pack of cars.
Yeah, it certainly is. You want to be able to slow down enough to get in there, because that pit lane entry line where the cones are, that is very close to where it is. Because if you take a look here, keep an eye on Peter Vanderberg here coming through the final complex of corners. The cones are right there on the exit, so you got to be able to slow down enough to get in there. But as you said, in a pack, it's very weird because it's very hard to do, because you need to slow down and try and get in there as safely as you can without trying to break the speed limit. But also, you don't want to impede anyone else behind you and risk getting hit from behind. And that's just going to make it really tough for the race here tonight, because we know it's 1 CPS required per race.
Exactly right. Well, our current 2014 and overall pole sitter, Thomas Hens, running all the way over the curb there on the exit of the penultimate turn. That's one of the places where you can pick up an off track if you go too far beyond the curb. Let's see if he commits to the end of the lap here, and if it's an improvement, a 107.3, and it does count. That has increased his margin to Aaron Gilbert by quite some margin. And speaking of Gilbert, I've just seen a mechanical black flag pop up for him. He has had a massive smash at turn 2, or was it at turn 1? I'm not entirely sure. Over the curb, and oh my god! Oh, all right.
Okay, that was a. Okay, I'm not too sure what happened there.
Yeah, that's this car here. That is the number 47 of Matt Haywood. Yeah.
So that was our Gen 1 winner, the 2014 spec winner from the last round. This is what happened here. Oh, big spin. Let go. And trying to recover,
no.
And Gilbert had nowhere to go. That is massive.
Yeah, well, I understand what Haywood was trying to do there. He got the car rolling back straight, and then he realized Aaron was coming up behind him, so he thought, okay, I'm going to move left and give him the inside of the corner. What I don't think he realized was that Gilbert was still trying to figure out where to go and maybe committed to the outside there. So Aaron Gilbert, unable to get back to pit lane under his own power. I think that means that he won't be allowed on track for the rest of the qualifying session, which is not ideal. Puts him under a bit of further threat from the likes of Joe Mahoney, Daniel Stevens, and Dion DeGraaf, who are only within a tenth or so of him.
Yeah, so far Aaron Gilbert currently sits second place, so he can't. So if he gets out qualified here, unfortunately, he cannot do anything about it. But you're right, it is mighty close now. Joe Mahoney, Dan Stevens, Dion DeGraaf, Matt Haywood are all flying now. Look at the leaderboard. Top 6 are all 2014 spec cars. Our best of the 2019 cars is 7th, and that's Chad Lewis.
Yeah, Chad is desperately looking to find some kind of pace here, but yeah, the balance between the classes does not seem very equal on qualifying pace. We'll see if it works out in the race with their various fuel loads. Robbie Bradbury beginning his last lap there, or maybe finishing it, because if you don't start your lap within about 10 seconds, you are not going to make it to the line. This is a multi-race server that we have set up. That means there's a hard cut to the end of the qualifying session. Speaking of hard, how about that hit to the wall?
Oh, not too sure what happened there. I'm not sure if that's Dan Stevens. Not too sure if he let the rear end get away on him, and we have a warning here for impeding Dan Stevens and the 32
Martin Lipsky.
So looks like it was out of turn 6. We should see what. So that'll just be a warning there. So naughty boy, you get a slap on the wrist for that one. But yeah, back to Dan Stevens. Not sure what happened on the exit of the last corner. I wonder if he got too much power out, or maybe tapped the wall on the outside and it sent him into the wall on the inside.
Yep, easy to do. We'll get a replay of that as we see Chad Lewis on live pictures getting his lap done. For Stevens, yeah, looks like you're right. He got on the power too hard and slid right into the pit wall. Well, here comes Lewis to the line. Is he going to improve on a 108.1? He will not. That's not ideal for Chad. He is still P1 of the 2019 cars, but he will not move any further forward up the overall field. Martin Lipsky, meanwhile, a little bit of smoke I saw from him, as that's the checkered flag in the qualifying session. And we'll be able to get going here for the first of our 23 lap races here tonight at Watkins Glen. On pole position is the number 62 of Thomas Hens, and what a lap it was from him. 107.3. That is a solid 2.5 tenths clear of Aaron Gilbert, the reigning champion of the V8 support category on the front row. Joe Mahoney starting in third spot, with Daniel Stevens starting alongside him. Big news for Matt Haywood. He's been given a pit lane start for that contact with Aaron Gilbert as we move back to DeGraff and Haywood. So that 6th spot on the grid is going to remain empty on the start. In 7th place, it's the first of our 2019 machines. Chad Lewis for Evolution Racing Team and Lockhart Brownlee, 2nd spot in the Anzac Emblazoned Orbit Drop Bear machine. The top 10 rounded out by Henry King and Matt Bailey.
And looking back down to 11th, Dylan Gray in the 52 for Pacific Esports Racing, and then Dylan Walker, Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport. Is going to start out of P12. Peter Vanderberg, Misfits Racing Team, and Riley Bilson will start out of P14 in the Mustang. Couple of Commodores. We got Dave Arney and Colin Bruns starting out of 15 and 16. Then we go back to Robbie Bradbury and Gavin Cox in a couple of more Mustangs for 2019. And then here we go, Wayne Taylor and Dean Alessi for Middle Finger Racing, representing in 19 and 20.
Locking out the 10th row of the grid. Behind them, Martin Lipsky, who got that warning in qualifying, got Hayden Cupid alongside him in 22nd. On the 12th row of the grid, it's Stefan Adams and Brendan Murdoch. Moving back to 25th, it's Joel Bootle, who's got Gary Watson in the first of the 2014 cars for company in a long time. Not setting a time in qualifying, Mick Nancaro and Adam St. John. 28 cars taking to the start today. And looks like most, if not all of them, are currently on the grid. Now, we do have an extra minute here on the grid timer, so there is a bit more time for us to dissect how things are going to go coming into these opening corners. Reminder that the race is going to run for 23 laps, and there's going to be one compulsory pit stop. Those fuel restrictions, which are different for our two specs of car, they will take them to about 5 laps from the end if they decide not to pit. If a safety car comes out, then that may give you an opportunity to change your strategy around, get your stop out of the way, but fuel usage is so incredibly high here at Watkins Glen. You don't want to play around with the strategy too much, otherwise you will unfortunately fall by the wayside. I think the slipstream, as important as it is, fuel saving in the slipstream is going to be even more important if you want to have a good race and be able to play around with that number a little more. Well, it's time, as the 3 minutes have passed, for us to get things going here and be gentle on our way to turn 1. Revs are rising. Thomas Hens leading us away. Aaron Gilbert alongside him. And we are away at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, a bit of a sluggish start from Joe Mahoney and Aaron Gilbert. Lightning starts from Dion DeGraff and Daniel Stevens, who'll battle for second place coming into the first turn. Thomas Hens leads the way as the rest of the field tries to not trip over each other as they make their way up through the S's. Mahoney putting Aaron Gilbert behind him again there up the front. Lockhart Brownlee just behind Chad Lewis, and there's a spin. Mahoney's around, and that's right in front of the rest of the field. Big crash up at the top of the S's. Chad Lewis is around too. So is Henry King, Riley Bilson. That is 4 cars in pieces at the top of the S's.
Oh, that is just big smack up there. I'm not sure if we're going to see a safety car for that. That was huge. But yeah, what a start. I mean, Thomas Hins managed to get away quite nicely, but that was quite nicely and quite cleanly. But as you can see now, a bit of a gap now between the positions of 3rd and 4th. And that'll be a, oh, there you go, safety car now as well as expected. That was absolutely massive. And that'll hurt the chances of a few of our drivers. As we see there is one of the middle finger cars there, Colin Bruns. And there's the little car park there in the background. So Henry King parked up there. We also got Riley Bilson, and then of course we had Joe Mahoney, absolutely wrecked. Look at the wheel. Look how it's just sitting at the bottom. Oh, another one here as well. Chad Lewis missing the entire front end of the Commodore.
Yeah, Chad Lewis was able to get going again. He was one of the cars that was involved in that pile-up. Colin Bruns also involved somewhere along the line. Yeah, we are going to have to take, I think, a few replays of this. Multiple cars that had big issues, and I think an onboard from Colin Bruns's perspective would be handy, because he got the biggest fright of anybody with Joe Mahoney slamming into him, appearing out of nowhere from across the racetrack.
Yeah, it'll be an absolutely... I'm just waiting for that replay to turn up. You can see the little iRacing BMW safety car taking over, and he'll be leading the field around while they get this thing up. Here we go. Here we have a replay.
Yeah, so this
now right under the nose, or right under the wing. Oh, wait for it. Oh, okay. So massive whack. Oh, okay, so it looks like the Commodore of Chad Lewis, you can see they lost the bumper during that big scuffle, but like you said, managed to make his way back to the pits, get those repairs done out of the way.
Yeah, it looks like the whole incident was triggered by Joe Mahoney turning across the front of Aaron Gilbert coming up through turn 3. And when I say that, I'm not assigning fault. It's just what happened there. Gilbert with a tiny bit of overlap over Mahoney. Joe would be arguing not enough overlap.
Yeah, not too sure if Aaron Gilbert tried to back out of that as well after the initial contact, but we're just going to see if that did actually happen. If he managed to sort of just try and back off and make sure that he got into like try and back off and make sure that he could just try and allow Joe Mahoney a chance to just recover himself.
Here's Chad Lewis's perspective, and well, it happened right in front of him. He had nowhere to go, and then bounced off a couple of cars and the wall. And poor Henry King, I think his car almost suffered the worst out of him, because he was just minding his own business, then ran into Mahoney when Joe spun across the track. And then as Henry was trying to slow down for the incident for Chad Lewis happening in front of him, Riley Bilson, with the ARCA brakes on, slammed right into the back of him. So you wait for it here. He slows down, and then bam, there's the hit from Riley Bilson behind.
Oh, and that's one thing you don't want. That's one thing you don't want to suffer, is having to slow down to avoid an incident and then get hit up the backside. That's just going to hurt for Henry King now, as he would be as he's in the pits now getting some repairs done, as are a few of the other drivers. We go on board.
This is Bilson that we're riding on board with. So he had, I believe that might be Bruns ahead of him. Yes, it is. That's Bruns. So, Bilson tried to take avoiding action. I think what he didn't realize was Lewis and King were already stopping or slowing down on the outside of turn 4 there. So that's the whole incident dissected there. That's all the cars that got involved in it. And it looks like the safety car will be in this lap. We've only had one car emerge from pit lane, and that is Matt Haywood, of course, for his pit lane start. All the drivers who got involved in that incident with mechanical black flags. So Lewis, Mahoney, King, Bilson, and Bruns in the pits, getting those repairs done. Also saw that a black flag has been assigned to Dave Arney for some reason. I think that's an iRacing issued black flag. The compulsory pit stop window has been delayed. Usually, if the race runs under green, it opens at the end of lap 2. But under the rules, it'll be 2 laps from the commencement of this green flag that the pit window will open. So if you were planning to pit early, now is not the time. If you pitted in this period, it wouldn't count for your compulsory stop. But away we go with Thomas Hinds at the front of this field, back to green flag conditions at Watkins Glen to start the 4th lap. A chaotic start, hopefully. That's the only big incident we see.
Yeah, see a big dive here from a couple of the Mustangs. Oh, big move there. Down the inside, the 125. The 52, that's Dylan Gray, so he's made a mince of that restart. And they're going to go side by side through 2 and 3, and the 125. That's Lockhart Brownlee, sorry, has managed to keep that position, but Dylan Gray now is going to want to fight for it back. Look at this, right
bump
under
drafting.
the bumper. Yeah, but a bump drafting, like you said, these are NASCARs. And whoa, bit of a jump over the curb there for Dylan Gray. That was awesome to see. And we can see now the car's finally through the inner loop, coming around turn number 5 to try and come around and start the next lap. As we can currently see now, nice and wide on the exit of 5 there. Not sure how much leeway iRacing gives you if you were to run that far out.
On the exit of Carousel, you can basically run through the entire runoff area. There's basically no penalty for it. But if you do run too wide, you end up costing yourself time anyway, just from the geometry of the line. So I think they're all clear for now. Dave Arney serving that iRacing issued black flag. And once again, I'm not entirely sure what the cause of that was for him. The compulsory pit stop window is now open. Jay is telling us potentially it was a jump start for Dave Arney. So keep our eyes peeled on the live action for the moment. Up ahead of Brownlee, who's now fallen into the lead of the 2019 class. It is on behind Daniel Stevens, who has taken the lead of the race.
Well, Daniel Stevens with a brilliant move into the inner loop. That was awesome. Oh, got a couple of cars cutting over the grass. It looks like one of the Simblacks cars that cut over the front there. Cut over the grass there and cut the corner. I think that was
Stephen Adams.
Stephen Adams. So Stephen Adams cutting the corner there. Not sure if he had a bit of contact or a bit of help. And is looking to slow down. So maybe an iRacing slow down there. So Daniel Stevens now taking the lead over from Thomas Hinds. And it's looking like a spicy battle here in the top 4. And Aaron Gilbert is still there after being involved slightly with that little incident on lap 1.
Yeah, lucky escape for Aaron Gilbert. For Adams, it was a straight up missing of the braking point. He locked up coming into the inner loop and slid. This is on board with Arnie, and we're going to see what this jump start is. Yeah, there we go. He just went away too early. Clear jump start. And, he didn't get it back going again in time. Oh, he actually got hit from behind as well. He stalled it.
Okay, so that's not a very good start to your night on iRacing, especially in V8SCOPS supports around Watkins Glen. That's the last thing you want, is to stall these cars, and these things are very hard to probably get back fired up once you stall them. As you can see now, back to the live action here, Thomas Hinds looks like he's trying to set up for a move here on Dan Stevens, runs a bit wide, and it's going to go almost side by side there. As we can see now, Dan Stevens here settles back into second place, but now he has got Dion DeGraff for company, who has Aaron Gilbert right behind him. So does Dion go for a move here? Looks at it, just pokes the nose out a bit, and we'll now have to try and settle in as we look here on board here with Dan Stevens running the sequential shifter. So I think we'll give him maybe extra points for authenticity for running the sequential shifter on this car.
Yeah, Dan Stevens has one of the best cockpits I've ever seen. The sheer amount of button boxes he has. I honestly don't know how he remembers where all the functions are, but he's going to try and defend still from Dion DeGraff, who gets up the inside of him through the inner loop. There's the view that you see. Big slide from DeGraff. Stevens is going to go where the gap is and try around the outside of the outer loop, get on the power, balance the throttle, and he's going to carry that momentum all the way to the penultimate corner.
You can see on board, looking at the onboard shot there from Dan Stevens' sim setup. Look at the little arrow there on the right hand side flashing to tell him, oh, he's there. Oh, that was mighty close. And this battle has just brought in 2 more cars into the fray, and I think that's the first of our 2019 cars there. The Mustang there, seen a little bit in the background as we take a look here, and this is Lockhart Brownlee now. Sorry,
3 wide.
Oh, this is good fun. This is good fun. Lockhart Brownlee now in the Anzac car. I sang his praises earlier for making a beautiful livery for the Anzac Day Memorial, but this is brilliant stuff here. He's now moved up into 4th. What a start.
Yeah, welcome to Watkins Glen, Brandon. I hope you enjoy your stay. This is the racing is just like this the whole way through. They form into packs, they slipstream, they fuel save. It's basically Daytona or Talladega with right turns in these cars. Well, now we turn our attention to whether or not anyone can actually get a gap going here on Thomas Hinz. Look at the lead he's got, 2.7 seconds up at the front of this field. And Dion de Graaf is still trying to search for positions here, but maybe he's being a bit too aggressive in these early stages of the race. Obviously, high-load corners all over the place at this track. You're going to be working the tyres pretty hard. We haven't even talked about the track temperature. 34 degrees Celsius, that's pretty warm.
Oh, yeah, that is an absolutely warm circuit, especially for a track like Watkins Glen, where you are on the power and there's a lot of flow to this track. We're a little bit running wide there for one of the Mustangs there in the background. But you can see now a little bit of a gap now between Lockhart Brownlee and Dylan Gray. There's a bit of a touch in the wall there for Lockhart. Well, so he's pushing a little too hard.
Indeed, he clipped Madison's wall, which is the move is made for Daniel Stevens just about. Getting up the inside of Henry King all over the curb. Oh, Aaron Gilbert, sorry. Just gets ahead at the inner loop. Yeah, a little bit of Aussie sim racing lore for you, Brandon. People have named that wall Madison's wall because Madison Down, 3-time V8SCOPS champion and multiple champion of the official iRacing Supercars series, hit that wall many times in the early years of racing here on iRacing. So Lockhart Brownlee can wear that as somewhat of a badge of honor. Dion de Graaf spinning out of the final corner, and well, he's might as well go for the pit lane. He's right there.
Yeah, that's a bit of. I'm not so sure if he tried to maybe settle in for the pit stop prior to this, and maybe just decided a little too late to do that. But obviously, he has no choice now to dive in for the pits. But yeah, interesting little bit of a fact there. Thanks for that one, Reese. And now knowing that Madison Down, obviously, as you said, multiple champion in a bunch of different supercar championships on iRacing, has hit that wall a few times in the early part of his sim racing career. As we see now, Aaron Gilbert wanting to get that position back from Dan Stevens, and this racing is just hot, and it is just getting better and better as the racing goes on. We're only 10 laps in. I thought we were nearly the final already.
Yeah, it seems like it takes forever, and it seems like it flies by at exactly the same time. Another thing that I love about this place. Well, it's turned into a race for second here. Thomas Hinz has gotten that gap up to 4.5 seconds. He's absolutely caning it at the front of this field, dominated in qualifying, and is head and shoulders above the rest in this first race here. As we get our first taker onto the pits here, Matt Bailey. He has made his way in, and of course Dion de Graaf came in as well, but probably not entirely intentionally. Regardless, battle for second will still be on here, and I don't know if there's much they can do on strategy to try to catch up to Thomas Hinz. They might have to be hoping for a safety car.
No, either a safety car or maybe hope that Thomas Hinz has a bit of a moment, but Thomas Hinz is flying out there way too cleanly at the moment and has built himself up a beautiful gap of 5.1 seconds. This is just flying. As I take a look now at the replay, Lockhart Brownlee a little wide there, a little bit of a drifting. Hello. Ride sideways.
That's lovely.
Yeah, put on a bit of a show for the virtual iRacing crowd. As you can see, a bit of a battle happening there in the background as well. Sorry to cut you off, mate. Peter de Vanderberg is having himself a bit of a battle in the background with another one of the Mustangs. As we see, Dan Stevens has come in.
Yep, going for the pit lane, and he's followed in by Brownlee. And speaking of Lockie, what I was going to say was that slow-mo we saw, at that point when he was sliding, he was actually still legal. It only really counts you're off track when that strip of concrete starts on the curb. You can have the car all over the curb and have it half off the curb as long as you don't go beyond that strip of concrete. So Watkins Glen very liberal with its interpretation of track limits, but a raft of cars on the pit lane at the moment. Stevens leading the charge in, Brownlee, Gray, Walker, Bradbury, Taylor, Alessi. In fact, many of our 2019 spec cars on the way into the lane. And it looks like Lockie is going to win the race out of pit lane. Dan Stevens with quite a long stop there.
Yeah, he's dropped a couple of positions there. I was wondering why that's just done that. As we go on board now with Matt Bailey. Take a look ahead at Dion de Graaf. And Dion is not looking for the pits. Oh, maybe he was.
He got some help. That's the context we needed. I thought de Graaf's tyres had just burnt up and he spun by himself out of the final corner, but that's not the case. Matt Bailey, maybe under investigation from race control for that. De Graaf was quite clearly slowing down for the pit lane. And that is the danger of Watkins Glen, with the pit entry lane being on the inside of the final corner.
That is a bit of a dangerous spot there as well. So Peter Vanderberg now and Gavin Cox into the lane to get their pit stops over with. They're part of the 2019 spec Gen 2 class. As you can see now, just having a look at the leaderboard here, Thomas Hens still leading and has not decided to pit. That is very interesting strategy there. Henry King has just had his foray in the pits. He was just still getting those repairs done from the lap 1 incident. Look at the gap that Thomas Hens has. He is just getting away with this one, and Aaron Gilbert, the last season champion for V8SCOPS Supports, is flying out there in second place. Then Matt Haywood in the number 47, just sitting back there in third place as well. As here we go, pit stop time for the leader. Whoa, look at that entry.
A little bit of a real lock-up for Aaron Gilbert there. We'll see if Haywood decides to come in. No. Well, you know what? I think for Haywood, this is a smart play, because remember, he started from the pits. I think ideally he would want to go as long as he possibly can. Brendan Murdoch coming in as well. If Haywood had decided to pit super early, Gary Watson with a rear lock up himself. Oh, so chaotic on the way into the pits here. If I can finish my point, please, let's not have any big incidents. Matt Haywood will be staying out for a while here so that when he does pit, he doesn't come out in traffic. He'll be looking for that gap to fall into so that he can maximize his pace to the end. He is a quick driver. He would have started 6th, but he had to start from pit lane. The safety car helped him, but he's going to have to do a bit more work if he wants to secure that top 6 that his qualifying position demands.
Yeah, so looking at it, there's a battle here now. The big little 4-car battle pack happening. Lockhart Brownlee currently leading Aaron Gilbert, and you can see Matt Bailey trying hard to defend that position from the 52 of Dylan Gray. This racing is sort of, I think these are pit lane penalty entry for Brendan Murdoch, and well, okay, well, there you go. I think that'll answer that one there.
Yeah, I think he might have entered the pits too fast, and iRacing gave him a black flag for that. Aaron Gilbert falling under pressure from Lockhart Brownlee. Meanwhile, this is the old generation versus the less old generation.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you can see Aaron Gilbert in the 2014 spec Ford Falcon had just passed the 2019 spec Holden Commodore. As you can see now, Dan Stevens now just looking for some ways to get past. He wants to get back up the front there.
Oh, God!
Woohoo!
Well held from Dan Stevens, but he's lost all of that momentum. Yeah, wipe the sweat off your brow, mate. That was not ideal for him.
Oh, that certainly wasn't.
Good Lord. And how did that even happen? Just looked like a bit of a checkup on the exit of the turn there and maybe got turned around ever so slightly. Big news, though. Oh,
no.
Aaron Gilbert with a 10-second penalty from race control for causing that incident with Joe Mahoney on lap 1.
Oh, so race control have now deemed Aaron Gilbert, unfortunately, is going to get the slap on the wrist and the drop of the gaffle. 10-second time penalty. That is going to sting for Aaron Gilbert, who is trying his best to get back up to the front there. currently in 3rd place in the 2014 spec of the cars. But man, I just want to go back to the old Dylan Walker here. Was sitting behind Dan Stevens when Dan had that little lose. I'd love to see that view. Whew. I mean, we saw Dan Stevens wipe the sweat off the brow. I want to see what Dylan Walker's view would have been like for that one. That was bloody close.
Certainly was. Well, as they find their way up through the S's, excuse me, Dylan Walker will pick up the slipstream here from Dion de Graaf. Try to get back into the top 7. And this is the view from Lockhart Brownlee's perspective. Oh no, that is Dylan Walker, sorry, that we're on board with. Yep, Stevens goes through, but then, oh, it was over the, oh god. Yeah, it was over the sort of berm that the curb forms in the runoff area of turn 1. Yeah, you don't want to run too wide for that specific reason.
No, you certainly do not. As we see now, Dylan Walker looking for a move on Dion de Graaf, as we see here from the chopper view. As again, go through. All over the curb. Oh, steps out on him and was able to gather that one back on up.
Incredibly close.
Absolutely close. Dylan Gray now down the inside of Dion de Graaf into turn 1. See the glove the brakes. It gets it done nice and cleanly and can now move on to the next one.
Yep. Off goes Walker in pursuit of Gray, and race control have been given a 5-second penalty to Matt Bailey for that contact with Dion de Graaf that turned him around at pit entry. It's a shame for Bailey because he's running good enough for 2nd in the 2019 class and 5th overall. So he'll have to take a tour through the lane and end up probably outside the top 15 at this point. Haywood, meanwhile, in the pits.
Now, Haywood now finally coming into the pits. You were right there, Reese. He just had to stay out there and try and make sure that when he comes back out, he's not going to get stuck in too much traffic. So let's hope that strategy has worked out for him. As we're looking at the, at the 117 of Matt Bailey coming through the complex. As we see now, looking at the little track map here, cars are a little more spread out now. We are about a few laps away from ending this one, lap 18 of 23. And it looks as though everyone is starting to settle in now to a bit of a rhythm now that they are out of the pit stops. Let's see if the strategy has worked out for Matt Haywood. Currently
comes out in 9th.
Okay, so he's coming out in 9th place now, so a little higher, a little bit lower than what he would have liked, but I think it's still better than where he was starting the race, because like you said, he was supposed to start 6th place, but unfortunately he had to start from the pit lane as he's come out ahead of Peter Vanderberg in the green Mustang.
Got 4 seconds to make up to Dion de Graaf ahead of him, but with those fresh tyres, he should certainly be able to make that gap up in no time. One of the things that always strikes you about these cars is how good the tyres are right out of the box. That's something that's carried through all the way to Gen 3 as well. For about 10 or 15 laps at most tracks, the tyres are fantastic. You can get great pace out of them, and then the pace just drops off after a while. So basically, this is this tells you that Matt Haywood is going to be blindingly fast in these last 5 laps of the race. Still keeping an eye on Matt Bailey. He has not gone in. Oh, no, sorry. My apologies. I thought it was a pit lane penalty. It's a 5-second penalty. So Bailey, let's see, what's 5 seconds behind him? That's around about the area between Dan Stevens and Dion de Graaf. So it looks like a 7th place projected for Matt Bailey right now. But he'd want to try and get ahead of Lockhart Brownlee here to try and extend that gap and make sure he doesn't fall too far back. Yeah, unfortunately, as Matt Bailey's just going to have to push as hard as he can. But right now he is stuck behind the 125 of Lockhart Brownlee, who is the current leader of the Gen 2 cars. As he's going for a little bit of a lookie and doesn't get it done. So just showing the nose there, just saying to Lockhart, I'm right here. Matt Haywood gets past the end of the graph. So those new tyres are working out well for him. Lovely stuff. The fight continuing on here for Matt Bailey. He's trying to keep Dylan Gray behind him. And this is going to be far from ideal for the 3 of these guys. They are taking some liberty with the inside line out of a few of these corners just to try and keep each other behind. The problem here for Lockhart is he doesn't have any help in the slipstream. Just hooking up the exit there is Matt Bailey, and he's got the inside for the inner loop. Dylan Gray's going to try and follow him through, but Lockhart Brownlee blocks him on the way into the corner.
Oh, what a move! And look at the 117 here of Matt Bailey having to cut the exit there of the inner loop, but has now made it through and will now try and push forward. I'm not too sure how much of a gap he's going to get at 4 laps. They all run a little bit over that curve there. You are allowed to do that as we go on board now with Dylan Gray looking towards the back of Lockhart Brownlee, and Lockhart has closed in on Matt Bailey. He wants that position back. He wants first, but if he just sits where he is now, he'll get it.
Yeah, certainly will. Problem now is the battle between Gray and Brownlee. And just behind them, Dylan Walker did not have the best of exits from the final corner. Looks like Matt Haywood has just nabbed him there for P7. But the pace that Haywood is carrying here, his last lap was a 1:08.0. Everyone else ahead of him, save for Hins and Gilbert, are doing 1:09s, 1:10s. So I'm looking for Matt Haywood to be a big element here late in the race. There he is in the background.
Well, there he is. He's going to catch up to Dan Stevens. You can see Dan is just slowly catching into this group here, because if these guys keep battling, Dan Stevens can come in here and spoil a little party here as well. The more you battle, the more you allow the guys at the back to get up there, because especially when they're racing clean air, no one battling, so these guys are going to be a bit careful about that one. But as you can see now, they all run that little bit far wide over the curb, and you can see now looking at Lockhart Brownlee trying to make some hay while the sun shines, as we have coming across the line here. 2 to go before we drop the flag on this one.
Here we go then. Now is crunch time. And there's another move under brakes there for Dylan Gray, trying to unsettle Lockhart Brownlee somewhat, but Lockie stays steadfast. Matt Bailey driving away from them, and considering that Bailey has been unleashed, so to speak, it's looking like he's still going to finish in 7th spot overall at this stage. And we're hearing there's a question from our producer about Dion de Graaf. Is he short on fuel? Now, he's been out there for 12 laps, and his lap times are looking incredibly slow. Yeah, that is odd there for Dion.
Yeah, I've just had another notice now. I'm not too sure if it was a bit of a touch there on the final lap. I was just going to make a point now. A lot of guys are coming in to the pit lane at the last second here.
Oh, no, Lockie!
I noticed that earlier in the Gen 2 class, Peter Vanderberg came in as well. I'm not too sure if a number of these guys decided to underfuel, hoping for maybe another safety car and try and get out quicker. But unfortunately, that has not worked. So Chad Lewis and Lockhart Brownlee have come into the lane. And it looks as though we're looking back here now at our leader, Thomas Hins, in the 2014 spec Ford Falcon. Will round the turn 5 and will come up towards the line. But yeah, it looks like a few drivers have had to make emergency pit stops for a splash and dash.
Yeah, Lockhart Brownlee being one of them. That's such a shame for him. But for Thomas Hins, he has nailed this race at every opportunity. Started from pole, did not look back as everyone tripped over each other behind him. And the 62 will come through the final corner to take the first win of the night here at Watkins Glen. Thomas Hins is your winner of V8SCOPS Support Race 1 here at the Glen. And Matt Haywood, it looks like he's going to make up one more position here potentially. You'll see him emerge in a second round the outside of Daniel Stevens. Oh, it's a drag race to the line, but the fresher tyres win. And Matt Haywood is going to finish 4th after starting from pit lane.
That is a brilliant, brilliant start to the race there. Unfortunately, like you said, it had to start from pit lane, but it's come through for 4th place, as we see now a number of the other drivers coming through here to finish off their races. A couple of the middle finger racing cars there as well, as we look at Dion de Graaf there. And it looks like one of the Simblacks cars is, or is that out of fuel, Stephen Adams?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's out of fuel.
Oh no.
Crawling to the line.
Is he clutch kicking? Looks like he's clutch kicking, trying to get that car over the line. Is he going to make it? Yes, he will. So just makes it through, just ahead of Peter Vanderberg there, who comes flying past, and Martin Lipsky, and also a fuel issue there for Martin Lipsky, and Gary Watson comes through in the 040 for good fun racing as well to end off his little run there.
I'm sure he had good fun. And in the midfield there, well, the first race is down, and it looks like we have a clear contender for round winner here. Thomas Hinz finishing nearly 7 seconds ahead of Aaron Gilbert, with Matt Bailey completing the podium on the track, but he will fall down to about 7th thanks to that 5-second penalty. Matt Haywood finishing 4th on the road, with Dan Stevens behind him. The 2019 spec field there. Okay, so this is the 2014 spec field. Hinz, Gilbert, Haywood are your top 3, with Daniel Stevens finishing 4th, DeGraaf, Lipsky, Watson, Arnie, King, and Bruns rounding out your top 10 cars there. Bruns, of course, was involved in the lap 1 incident along with Joe Mahoney. Mick Nancaro and Adam St. John, it looks like, did not take to the start there. They didn't take part in qualifying either. In the 2019 spec cars, Matt Bailey on track was first of them, but he will fall down the order thanks to that penalty. Dylan Gray will be classified your winner of that category, with Walker behind him and Bradbury completing that podium potentially. Gavin Cox, Dean Alessi, Cupid, Brownlee, what a shame. He got the fuel numbers wrong, has to settle for 8th in class, with Taylor and Adams rounding out your top 10. There's quite a few 2019 spec cars in this one. Vanderberg, the last to finish on the lead lap. Brendan Murdoch a lap down. Chad Lewis 6 laps down, had to get a lot of repairs done. Joel Butel suffering a lot of problems on his way around. Riley Bilson also involved in the lap 1 smash and retiring from this first race. Well, that's going to round things off for the first portion of the night here. We're going to go on a quick break here on SimSpeed TV and be back very shortly for the start of race 2.
It is feature time in Tulsa. Let's go green!
He's got the run, but is it enough? It's a drag race to the finish. Culver goes from 3rd to 1st in the last quarter.
Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races such as the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR calendar, such as the Daytona 500 and the Coke 600. We have races from disciplines across the racing world, from the Indy 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events use iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against everyone taking part. As every race progresses, watch and feel the track change, with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline, or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
You're watching SimSpeed TV live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. Reese Gardner and Brandon Stuck here, bringing you the action with Jay Kennedy behind the scenes of the V8SCOPS support series from Watkins Glen. An absolutely crazy first race. And, well, now we get to reset and do it all over again. This time with the grid decided by the results of race 1. And, tell you what, Thomas Hinz is going to certainly have his work cut out for him here. But if his pace in race 1 is anything to go by, he's sure to dominate race 2 as well. But we don't want to speak too soon. Anything can happen in V8 racing, and it certainly does. At Watkins Glen, even more so. So we're moving through into the warm-up and into the final race of the night. And Thomas Hinz is going to start on pole position once again with Aaron Gilbert alongside him on the front row. In third place, it's Matt Bailey. Of course, that 5-second penalty will be retroactively applied to the results from race 1. Matt Haywood starts alongside him on the second row. Daniel Stevens starts alongside Dylan Gray for 5th and 6th. And Dylan Walker and Robbie Bradbury will be keeping each other very close company on that 4th row. The top 10 will be rounded out by Gavin Cox and Dean Alessi, 2 cars that really made their way up through the field in race 1.
Yeah, let's look now back to 11th and 12th. It's Hayden Cupid and Dion DeGraff, the Holden Commodore versus the Ford Falcon. And we look back now at 13th and 14th, Lockhart Brownlee and Wayne Taylor, a couple of 2019 spec cars. 15th and 16th is Stephen Adams and Peter Vanderberg. As we look further back now to 17th and 18th, Martin Lipsky and Gary Watson. And rounding out the top 20, we have Brendan Murdoch and Dave Arney.
Yeah, Dave Arney picking up a couple of black flags in race 1. He'll hope to avoid that. Chad Lewis in 21st alongside Joel Butel. Lewis will be wanting to make things up here. Moving a bit further back to Henry King, he's going to have Colin Bruns for close company. Lachlan Capel in the safety car being classified on the grid there, but he won't be in it. So it's Bruns and Bilson on that 13th row of the grid. And we have Joe Mahoney being the last car to take to the start here. Won't see Mick Nancaro or Adam St. John taken to the start, and Mahoney will have definitely the fire underneath him after the unfortunate lap 1 contact with Aaron Gilbert in race 1. Of course, Gilbert will, I remember now, Gilbert got that 10-second penalty from race control, so his results won't be fully reflective of his pace tonight either. The 2-minute grid timer has been finished, and the race will commence in just a second or two. Green flag flies and we are away. Thomas Hinz with a bit of a sluggish start there. Aaron Gilbert going to go for the lead coming into turn 1. Hinz trying to protect then from Matt Bailey and Matt Haywood. It's going to be 3 wide through turn 1 for second spot as Gilbert skips away, says run away from the chaos yet to come. Drivers already on the headlight flash. Haywood trying to stay side by side with Bailey through the S's. Almost gets him done there. Matt Bailey clobbers the wall on the exit of turn 3. That'll be his momentum ruined. He's going to maybe lose a couple more positions before they get to the inner loop.
Oh, that was an absolutely massive start there, but nice and clean now compared to race 1. As you can see now, it looks like the cars are just flying through the inner loop there, and a little bit of a gap now to there. But as you can see now, Thomas Hinz, Matt Haywood runs a bit wide there on the entry into turn 5, so that's going to compromise him a little bit. Dan Stevens will come up and will try and look for a move, possibly down into maybe turn 1 if he can get himself right. Bit of battling happening behind here.
Oh God! Oh, is that Bradbury that's gone around there?
No, yeah, that's Robbie Bradbury got around, and Dion DeGraff almost went around himself trying to avoid that. Oh, that is massive contact. Looks like it's going. We might be able to avoid the call of the safety car here as we have a look now at the 53 of Dylan Walker coming through. Oh, bit of a... cutting a bit close there as Matt Bailey now round the outside, side by side now through turn 2. And can they keep this up and keep it clean? Matt Bailey doesn't want to give this one up. Dylan Walker gets it through. So Dylan Walker makes that pass stick. What happened there on the start there to Robert Bradbury, looking down now at the 35?
It was Lockhart Brownlee So he got on the brakes, but I think Brownlee missed the braking point, and so pirouetting around was the number 35, and Gary Watson as well called in an issue to race control. I'm not too sure what the deal is, but he was trying to go for the pits there, and one of the 2019 Mustangs went for him. So
I wonder if that was maybe Peter Vanderberg that went for him. Okay, so here it's Brendan Murdoch. So Brendan Murdoch, unfortunately, is going to come under fire a little bit from race control. As we can see now, the car's just filing through to start lap number 3 for themselves. Dan Stevens with the fastest lap with 108 as he now, as he currently sits in, was it P4, sorry, I'm off my train of thought there for a second. On board now with Thomas Hins as he takes a look up the rear of Aaron Gilbert, wanting to see if he just settles in now and will try and come through. Had a brilliant race 1 earlier tonight. And we're looking now at Dion de Graaf there, the number 20. Looks like he's escaped with not much in terms of damage there from the start. So he looks like he's still good. He can carry on and will hunt down the 2019 Mustang ahead of him.
Yeah, the problem for de Graaf is, of course, he had that huge slide thanks to Lockhart Brownlee missing the braking point, and I think that would have put a bit more heat into the tyres than he would have wanted that early into the stint. So his tyres may be suffering a bit later on unless he can get them back under control. For Thomas Hins and Aaron Gilbert, they have been caught by Matt Haywood. The compulsory pit stop window is open, so remains to be seen when we're going to be seeing our first pit stops. I think for sure with the amount of high load corners around here, and for the sake of preserving your tyres, you wouldn't want to pit right away.
No, you wouldn't want to do that right away, but you also have to think back to race 1. How much fuel did you take on? Because we saw a couple of cars get stuck to having to come in for splash and dashes, and some actually run out of fuel coming to the line, having a clutch kick to just make it past. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind and see if maybe you go for a little bit more fuel. But of course, we did see the appearance of the safety car at the start of the first race, as Matt Haywood now is looking for a move on Thomas Hins coming down into turns, coming down to the final couple of corners and running a little bit wide there over the curb. Matt Haywood is really, really pushing.
Certainly is. Hins doing the opposite here. He's clearly faster than Gilbert, but he hasn't been going for moves. In fact, he's been letting off the power a bit early. I think Hinsy's fuel saving. Try and play around with his strategy a little bit more. The problem is that's going to bring him under attack from Haywood and Stevens, who'll certainly want to gobble up that position if they wish. Battle for the top 3 in 2019, actually for 2nd to 4th in 2019. Dylan Walker and Matt Bailey still chasing down Lockhart Brownlee and Matt Bailey still chasing down Dylan Walker. There we go. I'm back on track now. As they are absolutely vaulting over those curbs in the inner loop. And that's what you have to do for pace in these cars. They get airborne over those curbs, and there's plenty of potential for incidents there. Walker a little bit too wide, I think, out of the carousel, and they pick up some grass too. Regardless, there's still plenty of momentum to be carried into that penultimate corner. I can see that Matt Haywood got a better exit from the final corner than Thomas Hins, and Hinsy's starting to move defensive. Haywood's going to move to the inside and go for it at turn 1, hard under brakes. And Hins around the outside will get the car straightened up a bit earlier. Gets a better run out of it. I think Haywood going over the curb like that. Yeah, you can see he had a couple of goes at the steering there. Clearly dealing with some sliding.
Yeah, and Dan Stevens now, that's brought Dan Stevens in a lot closer than what Matt Haywood would have liked. Now, unfortunately, that's cost Matt Haywood a little bit, and it's brought Dan Stevens right up to the back of the number 47 Falcon. But also going back to what we saw with the Gen 2 cars there, Reese, I think it was Lockhart Brownlee who had a better run on the exit of 5. He was a lot more shallower, looking for a good run. As you can see, Matt Haywood sideways out of turn 1, trying to make the move, and he almost got that one done. But as you can see now, it's still 1, 2, 3, and 4 as it was last lap around, and it looks as though now Dylan Walker has dropped a position there. As you can see now, more battles here. Dean Alessi, oh, that is closing in. Riley Bilson, who is now trying to get past there, and it looks as though he's managed to keep that position there. Riley Bilson, unfortunately involved in that lap 1 incident in the previous race, has now found himself some pace over here.
Yeah, he's basically cut his positions in half there, absolutely vaulting up through the field, and it makes you wonder what might have been if he hadn't been involved in that incident, what he'd have been able to do in race 1. Bit wide there for the 34 of Dean Alessi. It's going to allow Dave Arney by. And this time Dave Arney has had a black flag free race so far. I don't want to curse him. Pit stop, meanwhile, for Henry King. A very early stop there for King. So let's see what he can do from there. The MFR Mustang duo there of Dean Alessi and Gavin Cox managing to keep Peter Vanderberg behind them. Bilson so wide along with Stefan Adams. Oh, that's a big move there from Chad Lewis, who's trying to find a way past Hayden Cupid. Now, yeah, Lewis, the car that was, you could argue, one of the most involved in the lap 1 race 1 incident.
Yeah, unfortunately came to the pits in that after that lap 1 skirmish, lost the entire front end as Gavin Cox, one of the MFR cars, comes into the pits, wants to get out of the battle here. As we can see now, 2 battles of 2 cars here as you look on board now with Dan Stevens. One of the best on-board shots, I can tell you right now. Running that sequential shifter down a couple of gears, trying to make it up to get up under Matt Haywood, and it is now very, very close here, and you can see he's just trying so hard to try and get up behind Matt Haywood and try and get past him for position. Dan Stevens, one of the quickest cars out here at the moment, I gotta say.
Yeah, 108.1 is his fastest lap, and that is, as far as I can see, the fastest lap of the race so far. And he's still running times quicker than Aaron Gilbert up at the front of the field. Look at how close they get to the wall there. That's one of the best spots to watch racing from, in my opinion. Exit of the last corner at Watkins Glen. They push so hard to the wall, bouncing off that safer barrier.
Yeah, they certainly do, as we can see now. So we've got a couple of battles happening here with top 4 battling with Gen 1 cars. And we have a battle of 4 Gen 2 cars just behind them. Take a look at the inside here. Whoa! Oh, runs out wide, absolutely centered sideways, and has dropped back a couple of spots there. Oh man, the 52 there of Dylan Gray is not going to like that one.
Yeah, falls back to 4th in the 2019 class. Remaining there as into the pits comes Dean Alessi. We also saw Chad Lewis just coming into the lane as Vanderberg has had a problem up at the top of the circuit, and that is mighty slow there. Wondering if the car is stalled out or there's some kind of hardware issue for him. Maybe the engine's blown. He's popped the engine. The pit limiter was just put on there. So how did this happen here for Peter Vanderberg? He was up behind Joe Mahoney on his way into turn 2, but watch for the puff of smoke. There it is.
Oh, okay, that's a bit of a weird spot to want to blow the engine. I'm not sure if he downshifted by accident and was meant for an upshift. Oh, that's just going to sting a little bit for Peter Vanderberg there, as he's got it parked. Not too sure if he's had to request a tow from race control. And yeah, there we go. We're right on board now. You can see the back shot of the car there out the back, and yeah, he's flashing those headlights. I think he's going to need a request for a tow from race control.
Yeah, now the question for race control is, will this be worthy of a safety car, or can they just instruct him to tow back to the pits without calling the safety car? It has been done in the past, usually if the car is close enough to a marshal's post or an opening in the wall, reflecting how it works in the real world. But now, though, they're continuing to race, and they're saying caution turn 4, car stopped on left side of track, so looks like they're going to keep the race going here, but advise drivers to exercise caution up the top of the hill.
Yeah, no doubt. You don't want to be going too wide down into turn 4. They're not with the car parked on the outside, especially of where he is, as we see more pit stops happening now. Lockhart Brownlee and Matt Bailey are going to bring it in. I wonder if they maybe think it could potentially bring out the safety car. Maybe they're trying to have a little bit of a gamble here, as we see now the 62 of Thomas Hins coming through, and safety car has been called.
And there we go. Took him a lap or two to decide what the course of action would be, but tell you what, that's going to work out all right for Lockhart Brownlee and Matt Bailey. They will have a bit of an extra jump on the rest of the field here. I would expect basically everybody who hasn't already pitted to come into the lane now, and that being the entirety of the top 12. So keep an eye here on the final corner. See if Aaron Gilbert goes in for the lane. We can see that Hins is going for it, and yeah, it looks like Gilbert's going to commit too. Pit lane's going to be a hive of activity from here.
Oh, mighty close there. Almost getting a touch up the rear, but as you can see now, yeah, top 4 coming to the pit lane. And I think we might see some more. There we go. There's more cars into the lane, including Dion de Graaf there in the background. As we see now, the 700 will fly around the corner, and we'll try and bring that one in. And yeah, I think you're right there, Reese. I think anyone who hasn't pitted will need to take this opportunity and get in there, get the stop done, get out the way.
Yeah, Thomas Hins taking his box at the very end of pit lane, and yep, that's everyone down to Martin Lipsky now in the pits. Okay, so that's the field cleansed. Everyone's gotten their stop, and Hins is going to come out ahead of Haywood and Gilbert. That is a significant one there for Thomas Hins. 9.7 seconds stopped. That tells me that maybe he might be marginal on fuel, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, it might be. I wonder if he decides to short fuel a little bit, maybe wondering if he could try and get out. I think he just wanted to get out ahead of Aaron Gilbert and can now maybe do a little bit of fuel saving here as Matt Haywood and car number 1 there, Aaron Gilbert there. Did they just go past Dan Stevens, or was that a position change?
That was a... Dan Stevens was already behind them when they came into the pit lane, and they came out ahead. So, yeah, Dan Stevens, though he has been incredibly quick tonight, has not been able to get into that top 3 yet.
Yeah, so he's pushing. Unfortunately, hasn't found that little bit of extra bit of push in that car to try and get it past. But I'm just having a look here now, and I think Gary Watson has a black flag.
I'm seeing that too.
Not too sure what that might be for. Maybe either an iRacing issued black flag, maybe for... Alright, so an iRacing black flag, which has been told. Not too sure what that would be for, whether it was a jump start or maybe some contact or doing something a bit wrong there.
I think it might have been an unsafe pit exit. Either that or speeding in pit lane. Oh yeah, he got off the pit limiter too early. That was the issue.
Okay, so obviously getting a little excited there. So Gary Watson unfortunately has got nailed there.
Another issue as well on pit exit, so keep an eye on this aerial view. There's the pit limiter going off before the cones, and then the safety car is right there ahead of him. And so out he comes onto the racetrack, and I think at this point, it's like, yeah, what do you do? The obviously he's running further down in the field, and the safety car needs to pick up the leader, so he went on by.
Yes, unfortunately got caught up there, but that's what you get, unfortunately, if that happens there. But looking at the order now, and we are looking at right now, Thomas Hins now has gotten out of the lead. So Aaron Gilbert, after the pit stops, has dropped down 2 positions and has had a slightly longer pit stop. I'm just having a look here. So Aaron Gilbert, 11.7 second pit stop, and Thomas Hins 9.7, Matt Haywood at 10.2. So both the top 2 have pitted and have had a shorter pit stop than our number 1.
So Gilbert has a bit more of a fuel load in his car to work with. He'll be more than keen to go flat out the whole way through. Hins taking that shorter pit stop, potentially because the lap spent behind the safety car will allow him to save the fuel he needs to get to the end. All of them, of course, will have taken tyres, so you'd be a fool not to in these cars. And, well, now we see waiver rounds happening. looks like the cars of Robbie Bradbury and Brendan Murdoch finding their way past. And once they come around to the back of the field, we should be able to get the safety car period ended. Now, I think that might be half the reason that Hins had that shorter stop, because this safety car has come comparatively late in the race compared to race 1. So Hins has more of an idea of how much fuel he would need to get home, and the wave arounds needing to be done means that the safety car is going to be out for a bit longer. So that's even more opportunity for Hins to save.
Yeah, that's actually a good call there, Reese. Now, I remember you mentioned earlier while he was battling there with Matt Haywood, why Matt was getting so close. I think Hins was doing a bit of fuel saving at the start, so this might have just saved Hins quite a bit. And we'll see how much longer the safety car will be out for. But as you said, wave arounds will make it stay out as long as it needs to. And this could save Hins, and he could be able to claim the second race of the night, which means he's had himself a perfect weekend. But we'll see if he can hold on and see if he has to do any more fuel saving for the rest of this one.
That is the question. Well, Lachlan Capel will go around for at least one more lap here. I can see that Brendan Murdoch is exiting the outer loop, the carousel, coming up to the penultimate corner now as these guys are coming through turn 1. So that should mean that the field will be compressed about halfway around this lap, and that means that we should be able to get this race going at the end of this lap. All depends on what race control decide. They'll make the call in just a few moments, I'm sure.
Yeah, should be there's Robbie Bradbury. Has he come back into the lane now? Possibly maybe to chuck on some more fuel, or maybe even a fresh set of tires there now as well. See if he's going for a stop, or is he going to clear himself? It looks like he's coming for a stop. Let's see how long this takes. Might be a little bit of a splash and dash. Make sure he gets enough fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, might as well whack on a fresh set of tires as well. It only takes 10 seconds, and it takes the same amount of time to change all 4 tires as it does to change just 2. So that'll be all right there for Bradbury. He can get himself back out there. He's 3 laps down on the rest of the field here. So at best, he's just looking at getting some points towards the end of this one. And the safety car has been called to come in this lap, so Thomas Hins will assume control of the field very shortly.
Yeah, should be interesting to see how he can hold this one off. Now we know that he's got pace. We know Matt Haywood's got pace with his epic performance in race 1 earlier tonight. And Eric Gilbert, we can see there is just hunting there in the background. But look who's lurking in the back of Aaron Gilbert is Dan Stevens, and we know how quick Dan can be in these cars. Let's see if he can make something of it. There is the beautiful onboard. Thanks for that one, Jay. Beautiful onboard looking behind there, waiting to put the power down. As you can see now, zoomed in there, looking at that shot. Look at all the button boxes. I bet he's got like 1,000 stickers sitting around the place, making sure he knows what goes where and he knows what button to push.
Well, there's only one button that Thomas Hins has to push, and it's the one that his right foot is hovering over. Now flat to the floor for all of them as the green flag flies, and we get going with 10 laps remaining here at Watkins Glen. Great start from Hins. Stevens already having to go defensive as there's a 3-pronged attack from the 2019 cars behind. Lockhart Brownlee almost getting an over-under done on him from Matt Bailey. Big slide for Dylan Gray behind as well. That's a free position for Dion DeGraff, moving up to 8th overall and 5th in class. Now the slipstream comes into play. Lockhart Brownlee has been flirting with that wall at the exit of turn 3 for a long time, and he has to go defensive. It's the only option for him into the inner loop. There's no draft from Stevens ahead.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, he's lost a bit of a gap there, but that 2019 battle there with the 2019 cars, that is just, this is looking like a real Supercars race right here. That was just battling galore. Lockhart Brownlee leads that field away. You can see a bit of a gap there now between the 2014 cars and the lead 2019 cars. Dion DeGraff somewhere sandwiched in between all that, trying to make a move as he's looking for one there down on the inside of the 53. That's Dylan Walker, and he's almost got that one done. He's just lurking there in the background. trying to see if he can get it done as Thomas Hens now having to defend from Matt Haywood. Matt Haywood around the outside. Does he get it done? He looks a little bit ahead. This is going to be side by side through turn 2. And he's just about there, It's still side by side.
This is going to give all the advantage in the world to Aaron Gilbert and Daniel Stevens, but Aaron is boxed in. There's nowhere for him to go. Maybe a car's width between them, but you'd be a fool to make it 3 wide into the inner loop. There goes Haywood to the lead of the race, but has he gone too deep? Big slide. Hins might try to sneak under him here. No, Hins got out of the throttle early. He knows that there's still plenty of opportunities to get this lead back.
Yeah, you can see him like just put on the anchors there. He's just going to take it easy and try and make his positions back. But now Aaron Gilbert looking for someone who's looking in the background there. The 2019 car battle there for some of our, for Matt Bailey and Dylan Walker, as we have a 5-second penalty for track limit abuse for Riley Bilson, and also the number 9 of Hayden Cupid, and the 727 of Chad Lewis. So race control working overtime here tonight as we can see some more battles happening on. We have a replay.
Yeah, okay.
Have a look here.
Oh, God. Whoa. Oh, what? That's...
Okay, loss of the wheel there?
Yeah. It's like the front right just failed on that car.
Okay, so the front right didn't want to be around anymore. I don't think in the back. And it looks like we've got some more issues in the background. We have a replay coming up.
Yep, so keep your eye here on, I believe this is the 700 here of Dave Arney. So I think he actually caught the end of that wall at turn 2, and see the front right's already down. So he turns in at a higher amount of speed, but then the car just refuses to turn left, and destination wall.
I think he's lost the wheel there. I think he's actually lost the wheel. The rear end kicking up more without the wheel there, so that was just a bit of an odd one.
Very odd indeed. Well, that's iRacing's damage model for you. It used to be that you'd be able to continue on after something like that, but not so anymore. A little bit of contact between Hinsey and Haywood as they make their way into turn 2. Matt is not getting away from this, and it's time for Hins to really turn up the wick. Defensive for Haywood. Hins is going to go over the outside. Stevens is going to try and follow him through. Almost Noah's arcing it into the inner loop. Again, Hins doesn't have the overlap he needs to get the move done.
Yeah, that was absolutely awesome. Hins has found himself a bit of baptism of fire here. He is absolutely pushing it, trying to make it work with Matt Haywood, but he's got to be careful as Aaron Gilbert is right up behind him. And another decision coming in from race control post-race investigation, the 35 of Robert Bradbury and the 125 of Lockhart Brownlee. That is the first lap incident that almost brought out our safety car, as Thomas Hens now will have to try and regroup and gather his thoughts up. Dan Stevens there sitting in 4th place, waiting to pounce as he is currently being hounded there by Lockhart Brownlee. And this is a battle that I don't want to see end.
Yeah, this is magnificent racing that we're seeing up at the front at the moment. Hins is going to be the one under the most threat right now. He started to lose the slipstream from Haywood as hello into turn 3 there. Dylan Gray and Matt Bailey almost running into each other. Such high stakes racing here at the Glen. It's one of the best tracks for the V8 on iRacing for this exact reason. Well, looks like Thomas Hins is safe from Aaron Gilbert for now. Seems like Aaron is just letting Hinsey get things back together, and then they can both mount an attack on Matt Haywood here. From starting from pit lane in race 1 to leading race 2, it's been a great journey for the Simblacks 47, as looks like, oh goodness me, that is the slide for the 52 of Dylan Gray. I believe that was Lockhart Brownlee that he made contact with on the exit of turn 1. It is under review from race control, so see what decision, if any, comes out of that one. We've got 4 laps to go now, Brandon, and it's far from over here. Big oversteer for Haywood on the exit. Oh, no. Hinsey's going to go through to the lead.
Oh, Hins has just found himself a beautiful gap and has put the foot down. Now Aaron Gilbert will want to claim as well, and Dan Stevens there also in the background. Now they've got a bit more speed
Oh, Stevens.
Haywood, this is going to be so close. I don't want to talk over this. I just want to watch it as a spectator. This is absolutely mega stuff by these drivers.
Yeah, see the slipstream that Stevens was able to pick up there, wasn't able to take advantage of it. But I tell you what, all of this battling between our top four and that whole rigmarole from the slide from Matt Haywood has brought Lockhart Brownlee in contention here for an overall podium potentially. Still leading the 2019 class. This is what happened to Haywood. Just a bit too wide out of turn one. The car slid out over the top of the curb. He recovered it well, but man, Hinsey had to really take some avoiding action there.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen if Matt Haywood was on the Zoom wall there to see if he had an onboard. That would have been something to watch, but as you can see now, Aaron Gilbert is now looking for a way past Matt Haywood now. Thomas Hins has been let go. He has got himself a 0.4 second gap. Doesn't sound like much, but in these cars, we know how quick Thomas Hins can be, especially at this track here. We saw it in race one, but that is absolutely mega stuff there. No further action for Dean Alessi and Riley Bilson for the contact on lap 17 at turn one, so they can play on. As we can see now, more battles happening here in the background. The 52 of Dylan Gray and Matt Bailey has brought in a bit more from the other side here, as we see the number 2 of Henry King looking to go to work here on some of the 2019 cars with his 2014 Ford Falcon.
King, the first of our drivers to take a pit stop in this race, and that was long before the safety car came out. So he's going to be struggling on these tyres towards the end. Best he can hope for, I think, is a position around maybe 8th or 9th. We'll have to wait and see what he can do here, but those tyres are going to run out of rubber fairly shortly for King. Bit of side-by-side behind as well. That's Chad Lewis getting past Matt Bailey into turn one, but the over-under is there for the 117. Gets the position right back, and Henry King now sees half an opportunity to move into the top 10.
Yeah, that's mighty good there. So Henry King now has found himself a bit of speed as we look back at the battle here. For second place, Daniel Stevens is pushing Aaron Gilbert into the inner loop. Does he get past Matt Haywood? Yes, he does. That was really close.
Bit of contact.
Oh, Daniel Stevens has run wide, and there you go, has managed to make it through. Now, I'm not too sure if he's cut the corner there too much, but Dion DeGraff, that's brought him into the play as well. And look who's in the background there, Lockhart Brownlee, the first of the 2019 cars. He wants a piece of this one too.
Well, Stevens gets into the top 3, and it looks like he's avoided the slowdown penalty for now. Haywood will surely waste no time trying to get back past him, but he's got his Simblacks teammate Dion DeGraff for company now, and the white flag is out. So who's going to compose this top 5 at the end of this race? Hins getting back into the lead, and he is jetted away. Aaron Gilbert has no response from there in second. It's all on for third on back. Stevens keeping those 2 Simblacks Falcons behind him. And there's obviously no team orders at Simblacks because Dion DeGraff is right over the back of Matt Haywood. Across the top of the hill they come out of turn 4. Is there going to be any slipstream opportunity for any of these guys? Brownlee making up some time on DeGraff, but not able to get alongside into the inner loop. And Henry King, meanwhile, has found his way into 9th. He's managed to get past both King and Bailey. What a run from Henry King on the final lap here, after starting down in 23rd place. Still on for third here. Stevens going to go defensive versus Haywood. There's going to be a brave outside move here for the Simblacks Falcon. There certainly is. Haywood's going to get him almost there on the exit of the final corner, up the inside at the last turn. Looks like Stevens might have this big slide from Haywood. Hins is going to win both races tonight ahead of Aaron Gilbert, and Stevens just protects that top 3. Haywood getting past DeGraff for 4th.
Oh, that was really, really close. Haywood tried and tried and tried, and unfortunately he's lost a position in all of that. So Dion DeGraff claims a 4th place at the last second for that one, and as you can see now, Thomas Hins will win it out for the 2014 spec cars, and the winner of the Class 1 cars, which is your 2019 cars, is Lockhart Brownlee. That is awesome stuff. That was awesome. I didn't want the race to end, Reese.
Yeah, well, on Sunday we're going to have a much longer race, and it's going to be massive for sure. Last car to come across the line here, Brendan Murdoch, and well, Brendan certainly had quite a tough run of it here, but the Quality Control Racing Mustang will find its way to the finish line, and that will be the end of things here at Watkins Glen. My goodness, what a night, and probably the loudest volume I've had in a while. Well, Thomas Hinz winning the 2014 race there. These are the overall results here in race 2. So first of our 2019 cars was 6th place Lockhart Brownlee. Shame for Matt Haywood. He was going for the lead, but it all went wrong for him in the last couple of laps, just to a big slide. In the Gen 1 cars, Thomas Hinz wins ahead of Aaron Gilbert. Stevens getting into the top 3 with DeGraff and Haywood rounding out the top 5. King to 6th place, and that's after starting 23rd overall. A great drive from the two. Joe Mahoney 7th in class. It's a good recovery from his race 1 woes, with Colin Bruns, Martin Lipsky and Gary Watson rounding at your top 10. Behind them we had in 11th place Dave Arney, and he was the last of them, ultimately I think retiring from the race there, with Mick Nancaro and Adam St. John not starting either race tonight. In the Gen 2 cars, Brownlee wins ahead of Walker and Gray. Matt Bailey coming home in 4th ahead of Chad Lewis and Gavin Cox. Riley Bilson getting 7th. Another good recovery there from race 1. Same for Lewis as well. Dean Alessi, Hayden Cupid and Wayne Taylor will round out your top 10 there. And in 11th, Stefan Adams, last car to finish on the lead lap is Brendan Murdoch. Robbie Bradbury coming home 4 laps down after an early crash. Joel Butel retiring, as did Peter Vanderberg. So finally, we can catch our breath a little and have someone else talking in here. We have our 2014 class winner, Thomas Hinz, with us now. Hinzy winning both races tonight, a fair clip ahead of everyone else. Had to work a bit harder for it in race 2, but that car looked fast all night long.
Yeah, thanks, Reese. Yeah, no, big thanks to really, it's all thanks to Brett and Fish. You know, they made an absolute rocket ship. That thing was on rails. It was just insane. It was amazing. So yeah, really, it's all them. I just rocked up and had a bit of a lob. So yeah, no, it was good to Post was really good, and as I said, mostly it's all their work with the setup. First race. I mean, first race was a lot of help from Dan having the mistake, and then them squabbling allowed me to sort of get away and get a gap and go from there. And then obviously second race was a bit more interesting, but managed to get it, but good fun. But managed to get the W, and it was great to see Fish in formation both races behind. It was really good to see.
Yeah, indeed, great result for Team Jinx shifters there. And the weekend is still not over. Are we expecting you to be racing on Sunday? Because Watkins Glen turns it up every single year for V8SCOPS.
Honestly, not at this stage. I just, I really don't have a lot of time for much these days. That's why I'm not really on the sim much these days. A lot of stuff happening. So, I just don't think I have the time to. I think pre-qual's over anyway, and I didn't end up doing it. So, I've seen the pre-qualies throughout the year for V8SCOPS, and it's insanely competitive. I think I would struggle to make second split, frankly. It's just that it looks that competitive there in SCOPS this year. So, maybe one of the rounds at some point, maybe one of the tracks, I don't know if Bella was on the schedule, I don't remember if it is, but if there's a couple there that I'm really into, I might have a go. But no immediate plans until the Enduros, but hopefully I'll be there for them to be support for Brett, and he can carry me to a good result, hopefully.
Well, you'll be happy to know that Belle Isle is on the schedule later on this year, so hopefully we'll see you there again. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go, Hinsey?
As I said, mostly just the guy Fish and Brett and all the guys in the team. They always do great work, and just an awesome bunch of guys to race with, and always have been, and always will be, I'm sure. So big thanks to them for just being awesome and making a great racing environment. And obviously all the sponsors on the car as well. Mine didn't have any tonight, actually, because I forgot to do the paint because this was that ad hoc. But anyway, sorry, Henry. Big thanks to them. Big thanks, obviously, to Dan and everyone at AOG for putting on a great series and allowing us to race these things and put the two classes together a la real life is good fun. And big thanks to you guys for broadcasting it so we can see all the action unfold.
Plenty of action unfolded tonight. That was Thomas Hins, winner of both races overall and in the 2014 class. Moving over to 2019, we have the third place finisher in race 2. Brandon Stuck's going to have a chat to Dylan Gray.
Yeah, Dylan Gray, absolutely mega result tonight. A couple of really good results there. Third in class or fourth in class around there, but still overall a good result.
Yeah, good results in that. Good outing with my new team I've joined as well, which is the main thing. And it was a half race as well tonight.
Yeah, certainly was certainly an interesting race to watch from the comms box. I was so over the moon with all the racing that's been happening here tonight. But from your perspective, what was it like with all the battles between yourself and just in that top 3, top 4 battle all race long? It must have been something else and something really special from your perspective.
It was very special with them, how close we were and all that, especially even if there wasn't going to be safety cars. I think it would have came down to the last lap to whoever won the round and races.
No, fair enough from there. But just anyone you want to thank before you let you go for the night?
Yes, the guys from PER, Pacific Esport Racing, which is the new team I've joined, which I've noticed the paint is not on the car. Lake Edge Hotel Units in New South Wales, Majors Garage, One Shot Pest Management, Track Racer, 8 Rivage Photographic, and Dubby is our last one as well.
No, excellent stuff. Well, congratulations on the results tonight. We will see you hopefully for the next one.
Definitely.
Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Well, that ends things off for the night here, Brandon. The next round of V8SCOPS supports will be taking place in mid-May at Sebring. Staying in the United States for this one. And boy, oh boy, another sports car classic, this one. The bumps are calling, and so are those curbs and walls.
Oh, certainly are, Reese. I cannot wait to see Sebring. For anyone that watches this, I hope they watch the Logitech Pro Invitational. That first round here at Sebring was something else and something really special. But you're right, the bumps on this track are gonna be wanting some rubber and wanting to claim some cars and put them in the wall. So we'll be interested to see how this one goes in the middle of May next time round.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all out there on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick for watching. But the fun does not end this weekend. Next race tomorrow for V8SCOPS proper, round 3 at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern. Mark that in your calendars. Set a reminder on your phone. Do whatever you got to do to get here on the broadcast, because if you liked what tonight brought, there's going to be even more of it tomorrow. And we'll be right there to take you through all of it here on SimSpeed TV. I'm Reese Gardner. Brandon Stuck with me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.